Hello, welcome to Secure Talk, your trusted source of information on the latest threats, trends, tools, and technology related to cybersecurity and compliance. Join our hosts as they discuss a wide range of topics and speak with leading cybersecurity, technology, and compliance experts. Now is the time for Secure Talk.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Secure Talk. Secure Talk is brought to you by AdeQuest, your cybersecurity and compliance partner. My name is Mark Schreiner, and I'll be your host for this episode of Secure Talk. Today, we have my friend, colleague from AdeQuest, Christophe Koehl, joining us. Christophe is a cloud solution architect, has a ton of experience helping companies migrate various Microsoft workloads to the cloud. And today, we're going to be specifically talking about some of the great features and functions and also some ideas and settings regarding Microsoft Teams. Christophe, how are you today?
I'm doing fine. Hi, everybody.
Good.
And thank you for having me on the show.
That's my pleasure. We haven't had you on for a while. The last time, I think that your episode is one of our leading episodes. You were talking about autopilot that time, and I think there's been over 5,000 downloads of that episode. So that's pretty good. Hey, so let's talk about Teams. First off, I want to talk about the productivity features, and then later we'll talk about some of the security settings and the benefits that Microsoft Teams has, and then we'll conclude with talking about some of the workshops that Microsoft is sponsoring. But maybe you could just give a quick overview of what Microsoft Teams is, and then we'll talk about some of the specific productivity tools.
So in one sentence, the Microsoft Teams is a collaboration tool. So, but it does way more than just chatting between collaborators and team members. It allows also to do some to do some meetings, to do some voice calling, and to share files, to basically do whatever you need to collaborate between teams and different organization, organization units. This is like in a very short sentence that what Teams does.
Yeah, and we're going to dive into some of the specifics of those things that you mentioned. From my point, I am always reluctant to learn how to use a new app. And there was a time about 2 or 3 years ago where I was just really getting fed up because it was like, okay, we've got Skype and we've got Jira, we've got Slack, we've got this, that, and the other. And it was just, it seemed like every other month I was having to learn a new collaboration tool, new communication tool, and they were not all integrated, right? And so we started using Microsoft Teams, or I started using Microsoft Teams when I joined AdeQuest, and the learning curve actually was very short. But oh my gosh, it was basically all those tools that I mentioned before integrated into one platform, and so it was like, wow, I don't need to go anywhere else. I just need to use this tool. But let's break it down. Okay, so for example, let's talk about. Sometimes people compare Teams to Skype. So let's just talk about the Skype-like features that are in Teams and what's similar and what's different.
Okay, so Teams is designed to replace Skype for Business. So this is number one. So when new customers buy Teams and create a tenant in an Office 365 tenant, basically they don't have the ability to deploy Skype for Business anymore. So Microsoft is trying to decommission Skype for Business at a worldwide point of view. So Skype for Business is designed to replace Teams. So which means that Teams incorporates all the different features that Skype for Business provides, and especially instant live messaging. So if you want to talk with someone either by voice or by text, you can do that in Teams. So you have a list of contacts. Obviously, you can contact anyone in your organization. So like Skype for Business, Teams is connected to your Azure Active Directory. So you have access to the corporate directory, and you can initiate a discussion either by voice or by text or even by video with anyone in your organization. So this is these are the similarity between Skype for Business and Teams.
And Microsoft Teams is on a different internet backbone. Is that correct?
Correct. So yes, Microsoft deployed and developed a totally new infrastructure. They don't reuse any Skype for Business, back end infrastructure for Teams to work. So they are totally, disconnected. The main reason was security, because Microsoft is all about security, and Skype for Business was secure, but Teams provide more security and is based on the Microsoft Graph API, which main core feature is security. So totally different platform, even if there are some similarity in features and look and feel. Let's put it this way.
And in my experience, the performance is far superior to Skype in terms of call quality and consistency.
Yes.
So, and then while we're on that kind of Skype parallel, because we'll jump off of that because Teams is much more than Skype or Skype for Business ever was. Talk a little bit about maybe the VoIP solutions that are available. I mean, so we've had customers where we've taken them and they've basically thrown all their phones away and they're using Teams for a variety of different call scenarios, conference calls, one-to-one calls, etc. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. So I mentioned that you can call someone, so you can have a Teams call, which uses basically the internet, connection. But you can also make a phone call to anybody. So if you have the right licenses, of course. So you can. There is a dial pad within Teams, which allows you to either join by phone. A video conference, or you can call someone else. You can call any phone number, basically, using this dial pad and have a conversation with someone else on a mobile phone. So, yeah. I mean, Skype for Business was able to do that as well, but it's also integrated into Teams and in a more, efficient and usable way.
Yep. I think it's pretty cool because, I'm in Japan right now and you guys set me up with a Japanese phone number that just goes direct to Teams. And so I've got the Teams app on my phone. And if I get a call to that number, I get an alert on my phone and there you go. Nobody knows. Nobody's none the wiser. They have no idea that I don't have a real phone number, or actually I do have a real phone number. I just don't have a landline or a mobile attached to it. It just goes direct to Teams.
Right. And this is one key feature of Teams. I think we will talk this maybe a little bit later, but you can use Teams on any device. So not only on your workstation, but also on your mobile device. And you can connect your Teams phone number, your corporate phone number, to your mobile phone number. So if someone tries to call your corporate phone number and you're not logged in on Teams, the phone call can be redirected to your mobile phone. And you can, participate to a meeting and get the call wherever you are. Basically, you don't need to be in front of your computer. So this is one key cool feature.
That's very cool. So in the chat, there's something called persistent chat, where it's, you have a chat with somebody and that communication stays open. You can add people to it. You can drop people off, but you have this kind of permanent record of the conversation. So it's kind of like a living conversation that can grow. Talk about some of the other productivity features or some of your favorite features. I mean, there's a whole long list, but what are some of your favorites?
So one of my favorite one is, so as you can hear, I have an accent, so I'm French. And one of my favorite feature is to be able to translate whatever is written into whatever language you want. So I can have a chat basically with a Japanese person, like a real one. He can type in Japanese, I can type in French, and I would be able to translate what he says in Japanese to French, and he will be able to translate whatever I say in French to Japanese. So this is one of my favorite feature. So this is something that needs to be activated on the admin side. And it works really well. I mean, we did some tests internally, and it's fun. And from a productivity point of view, it's really efficient as well. So this is from a chat point of view. This is one of my favorite. Another one is the capability to share file. So you are chatting with someone and you want to share a file with them. You just drag and drop, this file into the chat window. It will upload, and your teammate will be able to open whatever you have sent through the chat. Will be able to open the document and have a look on it. So here again, very efficient for a productivity point of view.
Excellent. Yeah, and I actually saw a demonstration last year at Microsoft Ignite where the presenter was speaking in Japanese, and they had subtitles to the presentation in English, and it was in real time. I think they're probably using Microsoft Bing technology, but really impressive. And no machine translation is 100% perfect, but it gives you a general idea of what's being said, and a lot of times that's all you need. So that's pretty impressive. What about the ability to share apps? How does that work?
All right. So this is another core feature of Teams. So we talked about chat, the chat part, but you can also collaborate using specific apps. So Teams provide. Before that, I have to explain a little bit about how Teams works. I mean the core feature, the core collaboration feature. So when you sign in on Teams, you will see like a Teams icon where you have Teams labeled. So the teams you can be owner, or you can be a member of these teams. You will see also channels within these teams. So it's a group discussion, basically. This is how it works. In each channel, you have a chat window. So basically, we can collaborate and send a text message and to discuss various topics on these different channels. But you can also add some apps, and there are a bunch of apps that you can add. You can add, for example, an Excel spreadsheet, a Word document. But on only Microsoft apps, you can add almost whatever you want. You can have a link to a website, or older, productivity apps. I mean, one of the biggest one are there and available in the catalog, Microsoft catalog. So right now, I don't know exactly how much or how many apps are available, but it's a few hundred. So you will find the right collaboration apps you want to use within your team.
Yeah, and then explain a little bit. Like I really like at AdaQuest how we use Teams to organize information around various projects, various departments, and then we basically create a library of information related to that. But it's not just a library of information, because when you go in there, you also when you open up that particular team or channel, you have access to all the chats related to what you've seen before, the specific apps used. Kind of explain how that is structured.
So at AdaQuest, for example, how the way we do it is like we create teams per org units. So we have a teams dedicated to finance. We have a teams dedicated to HR. We have a teams dedicated to operation. For example, and within these teams we have different channels. So I'm part of operation, obviously. So within the operation teams, we have different channels, and we have client channels where we discuss, current projects or running projects. We have also channels about the different programs and services that we are providing to our customers. And we will talk about this later on. But for example, we are providing cloud economics, solutions, or we are providing workshops for our customers. And this is where we are storing all the related documents related to this workshop or these services. So if someone wants to get access to these documents, it just has to connect to the right channel, go to the Files tab, and he will have access to all the necessary documentation related to the appropriate service.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this is usually how it works. So basically, teams per org unit, because you don't want to have a lot of teams. You don't want to be part of a lot of teams because too much information kills the information, and you want to organize your channels in a intelligent and clever way. So teams per org unit, and then you select the channels are basically the main topics in this team. This is how it works.
Excellent. And then what about inviting or participating in teams outside your organization, or inviting people from outside your organization to participate in teams in your organization? How does that work?
Right. So this is a guest access feature, basically. So Teams allows you to obviously, collaborate with team members within the organization, but also outside the organization. So what happens is you can. So it's admin settings. You can block or allow people within your organization to invite external people. So external, guests. So first you will have to have a discussion to know if you want to do that or not. So if you decide to allow guests in your organization, the invite an external person is really simple. When you create a channel and a Teams, when you create a Teams, you will have to basically list the team members. So you will have to add, the members of this team, and you will just have to add the email address for this external person, and it will be automatically added into these teams. So from a security point of view, the guest has a limited right opposed to a team member. So this is something that you can also configure, in the Teams admin portal. You can limit what a guest can do because, he is from outside the organization. So potentially he could have access to sensitive information. So you can give him only read access, or you can give him a little bit more, power, and he could for example, be able to modify documents. So what you have to know is when you add a guest in a Teams, a guest account will be created in Office 365. So here again, it's a strategy to be discussed within the IT organization, because if any users can basically add a guest, you can end up with a ton of guest accounts in your Office 365 environment. So you may want to control that before you open up, for everyone to be able to add guests.
Well, that brings up I guess it leads us into the security portion of this discussion. Because, you're talking about sharing information, you have these persistent chats, you've attached documents, you have access to apps. And then, and people are aware that, for example, there have been some issues with Zoom out there, the whole Zoom bombing thing. And so some companies, organizations might be reluctant to fully take advantage of some of these benefits of Teams because of the security concerns. Maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the security features and then maybe also some best practices when using Teams or other collaboration tools. Go ahead.
All right. So like I said, so Teams relies on the Microsoft Graph API. So which native core feature is security. So you cannot access this Graph API without the right and proper credentials. Also, Teams is integrated in the Office 365 world. So meaning that the integration with the Azure Active Directory is native. And the security feature is also native. By security feature, I can give you some examples, like MFA, like conditional access, or service reset password, and identity. Everything is controlled basically by the different tools that Microsoft is providing in the Office 365 and Microsoft 365 world. So it's not a third-party tool which lives on its own, which is with its own security controls. No, it's everything is managed and controlled by the Microsoft technology basically. And Microsoft is now one of the leader in security solutions. In the last Gartner Quadrant, Magic Quadrant, the endpoint management solution for Microsoft was one of the top 1 and top 5, and Teams relies on these security controls. So we can talk about more MFA and conditional access and stuff that you can enable in Teams, for example.
Yeah, and
so
just let me cut in for a second. It's funny because I mentioned MFA to a couple of people who actually work in security roles, and at first they said, MFA, what are you? And I said, oh, multi-factor authentication. Oh, two-factor authentication. And it's so funny because we spend a lot of time, not all of our time, but a lot of our time in the Microsoft ecosystem, and MFA is that's a go-to term. But some organizations who are outside or not so familiar with the Microsoft ecosystem, they will refer to it as two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication, etc. But please continue.
Yes, it's the same. 2FA or MFA, it's the same concept. Microsoft is using MFA because you can have multiple ways to have this second factor, and actually you can enforce to have more than 2 factors. So that's why it's multiple, not only 2. But anyway, so logging to Teams is controlled by identity. I mean the identity management, and one of the core security to access a tool that potentially has access to a lot of sensitive data is identity. So you have to have a strong and secure identity. So in order to prevent suspicious logins, or MFA is one way, not the only one, but one way to ensure that the one who's logging is the real person and not someone else. So you don't rely not only on your password to log in, but also on the second factor. And it could be a text message on your mobile phone. It could be a phone call, or it could be an authenticator app. This is the preferred method. Basically receive a notification on your phone saying approve or deny the login. So it's fast and it's secure because you are the only one to have this phone, not somebody else. So the only person who can basically validate your login is you, because you have the phone. Conditional access is also another way to secure the access to Teams. You can basically conditional access is a set of policies that and rules that dictate the way you log in. So I talked about MFA just like a minute ago. You may not want to MFA every time you log in into Teams. So for example, if you are logged in onto your network, a corporate network, it's supposed to be a safe place. So anyone who tries to access Teams from this safe place, maybe it's not necessary to MFA. So conditional access will basically dictate these rules that when you are on the logged in on the corporate network, you don't need to MFA. When you are on vacation in another country, log in from another device that is not managed from your organization. Maybe in this case you want to make sure that the one who's logging in is really one of your users and not somebody else. And Microsoft provides a tons of security consoles and log analytics on this one. So yeah, I can talk about this feature for a long time, but this is not the topic today. But conditional access, what I wanted to say is conditional access is basically here and is designed to control the access to Teams.
No, it's a great feature. It can be kind of annoying sometimes, but it detects, am I using, like you said, a company-owned device or my own device? It detects where I'm at, and those policies are, once you set them in place, it automatically enforces them. It's a very good tool. What are some of the other features built in to protect data and etc.?
So SSPR, but this is not dedicated to Teams necessarily. Dedicated to Teams, I mean this.
Well, you mentioned SSPR, just so we make sure that's a self-service password reset, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But it's important because studies show that IT support teams, it's anywhere from like 30 to 50% of their time is spent on helping users to reset their forgotten or locked passwords. And the SSPR, self-service password reset, just takes that problem away basically. But
yes,
you want
that's correct.
Yeah, and then you were going to talk about some other cool features, security related.
What I was about to say is everything is logged. So you have the thing that you didn't have. You have a portal, Skype for Business portal, dedicated to manage from an admin point of view. So you have the same for Teams. You have an admin portal with lots of ways to create policies and in order to control and secure, how the teams are created, how they are managed by team members. What are the different, what are the different permissions for each roles, because it's also role based. As I mentioned before, there are three main roles in Teams. So we have the owner of the teams that is able to do some stuff. He can create teams, he can add members, he can obviously had a read and write permission on the teams. You have members of the teams that have different permission as well, and you have guests. I have to mention that there is also the admin role who can control and can do also some operation and management on Teams, but admins don't have access to the data which is published in Teams. So this is important to notice. So only owners, Teams owner and Teams member see the data which is shared in Teams, not the administrator. The administrator can delete the Teams if he wants to, but he doesn't have access to the data, which was kind of possible before, in Skype for Business.
No, that's a great feature as well. Well, we've been actually giving or facilitating a couple different workshops, Microsoft-sponsored workshops related to Teams, both on the productivity side and then on the security side. Could you talk a little bit about? We've been given, maybe in the last 2 months, maybe we've done close to 25 of these in Brazil and also in North America. Can you talk a little bit about the two different workshops and what they achieve, what they help organizations achieve?
So yes, we actually provide, so as of today, so, almost July 2020, it may change in the future, but as of today, we provide two kind of workshop dedicated on Teams. We have a secure remote work workshop and a Teams workshop, a collaboration workshop. So the collaboration workshop is basically dedicated and explains how to use Teams and how to deploy Teams within an organization. So it goes to the different features. So what I said, so the chat, meeting, calls, etc. And it's focused more for end users, and it's more focused on the functionality of Teams and how to use Teams in the most efficient way. And the secure remote work workshop is also focused on Teams, but more for the admin side of it. So it's more dedicated to the IT role that will basically manage Teams when it's deployed. It will also explain how to deploy from a technical point of view Teams in the most efficient way and the most secure way. So this is where we will go over an assessment with them just to make sure that they are eligible for an efficient Teams deployment. Because, there are some requirements to deploy Teams, network requirements. Just to mention this one, if you don't have the right bandwidth to deploy Teams within your organization, you can be in trouble. Teams won't work correctly. And also licenses, requirements. You have to be licensed to use Teams. And we can go through the different requirements for these licenses as well, if you want to. These are the two main, workshop that we propose. So one more dedicated for end users, how to use Teams, and the other one, so secure remote workshop, dedicated more for admins, where we explain the best practices to deploy Teams and to secure it.
Yeah, and these are full day workshops. They're, as I mentioned, sponsored by Microsoft. I would say the majority of companies out there, 150 people or larger, qualify for sponsorship, but we need to confirm that. But if you are interested, you can get in touch with us, and we can see if your organization qualifies. And even if you don't qualify, I'm sure we can arrange something for you, send you some great documentation and videos, etc. And even have a call and give you some pointer. You mentioned licensing, and just to be clear, how does it work if I'm using Teams and I want to invite somebody from outside my organization or inside my organization, but they don't have a Teams license? How does that work?
So it works.
Okay, that's important.
so they don't have to. So if you want to invite someone to participate to a Teams meeting, they don't need to have to be licensed to Teams. The one who initiate the Teams or create the Teams meeting has to be licensed. This is the requirements. So basically, on the other side, so the person who is not licensed, so this person will receive an invitation by email, and clicking on a link, basically, it will open a web browser, and it will give the options to join using the web app, and there will be no need to enter. To validate that any licenses. We just ask to enter the name, and that's it.
Excellent.
So it works.
Excellent. And then I think there are some really attractive offerings for schools or educational organizations, as well as nonprofits. So, if you're working in one of these organizations, because what we're seeing, and I guess we probably should have started the conversation off with that, is one of the reasons that we're talking about Teams is that we're seeing so many organizations that are forced to work remotely right now, right? And I think that's been a huge driver. And they're saying, okay, so how are we going to work remotely? How are we going to study remotely? There are some other options on the market, but as we mentioned before, they tend to be a bit fragmented. Some of them are good at video chat, some maybe are good at file sharing. But if you want a all-in-one collaboration tool, where can we go? And especially if they're already on Office 365, etc. So we've been, just so busy over the last 3 or 4 months helping to enable these companies to do remote work, and Teams is a huge part of that. But yeah, what have you seen in terms of schools and nonprofits?
It's crazy. Everyone wants to switch to a collaboration tool. Everyone. And Teams is obviously a key, a main target here. It's a perfect tool to work from home. I'm currently at home and talking to you in Japan, so I'm in Seattle, and we have this team conversation without any problems. And Microsoft, from an education point of view, provides tools to help, educational, industry
organizations
organizations. Thank you. To teach remotely. So what I didn't talk and what I didn't mention before is basically there are different ways to create a meeting. So there is a live meeting where you send an invite, and everyone which is invited basically has the options to talk and to collaborate, to share his screen. But there's also a cool feature which is called live event, where it's kind of different because where you create a live event, there are a presenter and moderator. So there are different roles involved. And the participants to the meeting basically are just here to watch what's happening. They can interact, but with very few. They can interact if the moderator wants them to interact. So, for example, they won't be able to talk, but they will be able to ask questions using a Q&A message pan, for example. So in the educational world, so this would be the preferred way, to teach remotely. So to create a live event, so the teacher could, give his talk, and the students would in return just ask questions. We had multiple, questions on how to efficiently use Teams, because we had some examples where teachers were using just the regular meeting, features to teach. And what happened is some students were, not muted, so there were background noises, and they were sharing their screen. There were some different stuff happening that were disturbing during the class lessons. So using the live event feature prevents this to happen.
That's excellent. And it may sound like that we're up here trying to sell Teams. It's not about that. We just see that there's a very large number of organizations are either using Teams or moving to Teams. And it's a really relevant topic, especially on the context of Secure Talk. We want to talk about the security features, and we've done that. But to be sure, we eat our own cooking. As Christophe mentioned, we're using Teams for this call right now. Christophe's in the Pacific Northwest in the Seattle area there. I'm in Yokohama, Japan, right outside of Tokyo. And as far as I can tell, we haven't had any issues on this call other than my verbal gaffes. But it's a pretty cool tool. If you'd like to find out more, get in touch with AdaQuest. You can find Christophe or myself on LinkedIn, or you can go to the AdaQuest website. Even if you just need some documentation or best practices, shoot us a message, and we'd be very willing to help out. Christophe, I really appreciate your time. Any closing thoughts or comments?
Yeah, like you said, if you want some more information, about Teams, I'll be happy to answer them. But yeah, it's a very hot topic right now. And 3 years ago, I was not super happy using Teams, but I'm totally convinced now. I mean, it's I cannot live without it. I mean, my number of emails are decreasing, so this is one other good side effect. Before I was using emails just to communicate basically with my team members. Now I'm just using Teams, and that's it. It's so
excellent,
so much powerful and efficient way to work.
Excellent. Well, hey, Christophe, I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for being on Secure Talk.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Hello, welcome to Secure Talk, your trusted source of information on the latest threats, trends, tools, and technology related to cybersecurity and compliance. Join our hosts as they discuss a wide range of topics and speak with leading cybersecurity, technology, and compliance experts. Now is the time for Secure Talk.